everyone, we're going to get started. Good morning.
Hey, Larry.
Just in time, Larry. All right, good morning. My name is Carl Grover. I am the president of NorCal APCO for 2025. Wanted to thank everyone for being here, being a part of the June NorCal APCO membership meeting. Appreciate you guys being here, appreciate your time, and hopefully we provide some opportunities to network with others today, as well as provide some new information from the vendor community, from the public safety community. So before I get into the agenda and get too far down, let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, so a little housekeeping first. For those of you that haven't found the bathrooms, they're right through this door to your right. Lots of pastries, juice, coffee, courtesy of Anna. Thank you, Anna, and thanks for being our host, and particularly to Lathrop Manteca Fire for allowing us to be here and use their facility today. So just a quick overview of the agenda. We will have our chapter committee reports. We'll hear from different committee members providing updates across various efforts that the chapter is working on this year. At 10:15, we'll hear from our commercial sponsor, AdCom Engineering. And then at 11 o'clock, we'll hear from our keynote presenter, Shannon Polito, talking about elevating wellness and training for 911 dispatchers. She is part of the company Help for the Headset. So hopefully you guys find that useful today as well. And then Paul Truxell is scheduled to be here from Cal OES providing a next-gen 911 update. He will be doing that at some point during the lunch hour. He will be our formal keynote speaker in September when we're at the Jelly Belly factory, but he did want some time in front of the membership today with an important update out of next-gen 911. So lunch will be at 12. Stick around for that, as well as the door prize drawings that we'll be doing as well. And then at 1 o'clock, we'll break into two different groups for those that want to stick around: frequency, coordination, and operations. All right, with that, we will get into the committee reports. First up, awards and recognition with Anna. Oh, Anna, come up here.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you. Yeah, everybody for coming today. We hosted our 2025 awards banquet last month already. Wow. Great turnout. We had about 75 78, 70, somewhere between 70 and 80 people show up this year. It was a great turnout. We really appreciate everybody that made it. It was at Oak Farms. Some wonderful recognition for our awards recipients, which will hopefully lead to even more nominations and an even better turnout next year. We're just looking forward to continuing to grow and get our members recognition they deserve.
Thank you, Anna, and thank you for leading that effort. That was a big turnout and nice night for those that were there, especially our award winners. All right, next up is Manny talking about commercial activities, conferences in Baltimore, Sacramento. Oh, sure. Got ahead of myself. All right, so as I stated, Carl Grover, City of Roseville, and your current chapter president.
Hello, Martin Kaler, Butte County, Comtech.
William Shaw, Butte County, Comtech.
Joseph Goebel, Butte County, Comtech.
Greg Bernardi, Alameda County Sheriff Dispatch Supervisor.
Good morning. I'm Laura Villarreal, Santa Clara County Communications.
Good morning, Marissa Gonzalez, San Jose Fire Department.
Good morning, Greg Glenn. I'm with Comba Telecom, and I am the licensee liaison working with licensees across basically across the U.S., but focusing on the western United States, who are dealing with signal boosters and the FCC has kind of gotten a hold of the manufacturers and said, hey, wait a minute, guys, these aren't going in legally. Let's clean it up. So I am working with COMBA on evangelizing that there is FCC federal law. It's not just the fire code, and that the federal law is being ignored in many situations and causing interference problems that are not too good to your guys' LMR networks, and people are waking up and they don't have radio communications, and it's due to boosters that have been added without licensee written permission and or coordination. So I'm representing the manufacturers and trying to get tools into licensees' hands that they can use to better have those deployed, or to even understand when they should or should not be used.
Judy Hessery with San Mateo County Public Safety Communications.
San Francisco comm infrastructure, and also your NAPCO secondary frequency advisor. Did I not say Michael Proscia, sorry. The coffee hasn't kicked in yet.
Jim Lencioni with Placer County, and I'm your Northern California chapter PIO.
Mandy Montalvo, Public Safety Communications Manager, Elk Grove PD, and I'm a member of your board of directors.
Good morning, I'm Jolie Setti, Alameda County Fire Department, and I oversee our regional fire EMS dispatch center.
Good morning, I'm Iggy Gatto with JPS. We are an engineering house based out of Raleigh, North Carolina. We design and manufacture communication interoperability and communication distribution products. We also have probably one of the last analog conventional receiver voters on the market. And if you're interested in updating those voters to provide IP backhaul, we have definitely a solution for that. Thank you.
Jennifer Kenton with Campbell Police Department.
Davey Jones with EF Johnson, a solutions engineer.
Terrell Harper, City of Stockton IT.
Good morning, everybody. What a beautiful day out here. You guys made it through the traffic. Barry Driver with the sales group. RFI Technologies is one of the companies that we rep. So as you guys look at expanding or adding to your existing Motorola 700 meg systems or whatever frequency you're using, feel free to check out RFI. They're on Motorola. There's actually an RFI Motorola website, so you can take a look at our antennas. We're getting some movement with the Site Vantage, which has SNMP traps, so you can monitor the RF power out, reflective power issues that may be happening, receive sensitivity actually. We can do things like that. So feel free to give us a call. Thank you.
Good morning, I'm Larry Weber. I'm also with the sales group. And what Barry just told you, the dispatch side of the house knows nothing what he's talking about. But we also bring products to the dispatch center. We bring chairs, we bring furniture, we bring RGB, which is a technology company that can take your desk and make it much more usable, much more ergonomically friendly with a single keyboard and a single mouse. And we'll be showing at the upcoming NINA show, and hopefully any of you that are there will come and see us. Thank you.
Susan Ronning, AdCom Engineering, the sponsor today, so I'll be speaking a little bit more about us in just a bit.
Craig Trigstad, CSI Telecommunications.
Susie Rivera, retired from the City of Folsom and your chapter secretary.
Michelle Elmore, Tracy Police Department Dispatch Supervisor and one of your board of directors.
I'm John Aurelius. We're from Public Safety Innovation, and we provide technology for mobile and fixed command centers and specialty vehicles.
Good morning, everybody. Dan Marcus with RGB Spectrum. Nice to be here today. We are a longtime supplier of visual solutions for critical command centers in public safety, and as Larry Weber was suggesting, we support solutions to improve workflow at the desk for dispatchers, as well as for front of room concerns like auxiliary displays and video wall technology. Thank you.
I'm Sean Allen with the Stockton Fire Department, Quality Assurance Specialist for the Communication Center.
Yeah, good morning, Larry Smith, City of Stockton, Stockton IT, and one of your board members.
Good morning, I'm Anna Trendow with Stockton Fire Department and your chapter vice president.
Good morning, Linda Biaggi, City of Stockton IT.
Nikki Torres, Stockton Fire Department, dispatcher.
Stand up here. Good morning. I'm Samuel Christensen. I work as I'm the new guy at Epic Marketing as a manufacturing sales representative. So.
Good day. George from JPS, as Iggy said, engineering house out of Raleigh, North Carolina. And our goal is to make communications better and expand it, make it more robust, give you better access than just talking with your own area. So we have gateways galore, solutions increasing. Look forward to working with you.
There you are.
Oh, introduce. I'm Adam Horn. I'm with T-Mobile, and I support all the agencies throughout the county.
Good morning, Mike Beckstrand with California Office of Emergency Services. I'm the Region 3 Communications Coordinator out of Reading, and I am the chapter president-elect. I take over next year.
We do have some open seats over here if you guys are interested in sitting down.
Oh, I'm Manny Vieira. I'm your chapter CCAM. I'm also a member of the CAC, which is a Commercial Advisory Council for National NAPCO. Commercial side, our monthly meetings, we have one opening left, September at the Jelly Belly Factory. So if there's somebody that would like to sponsor a meeting as a commercial, please let me know. Our next on our agenda is our California State APCO training and conference. It is set for September 30th through October 2nd at the Sacramento Convention Center. We are 90% sold out in our booths. We have over 80 booths taken. So if there's a vendor here that has not registered for a booth and you want one, please let me know. Let's see what else. Jim, you want to talk about registration for everyone else?
So registration is open on the website. We haven't advertised it that much yet. We're waiting for a couple things still to come in, mainly the volunteer spot area. But if you go to the calipco.org website, the landing page is about the show this year. Like Manny said, September 30th is when it starts. All the registration details are on there, registration links, the pricing, everything else like that. We do have the discounted pricing available until the end of July. That should give everybody in their agencies enough time to budget for it, to get in the plan for the next budget cycle, hopefully paying for out of next year's fiscal funds since the conference shows up in next fiscal year. That was a decision made for that. And then we have 1 month of, so from August 1st to August 30th, it is going to be the regular pricing, we'll say. And then after, and starting in September, the late pricing begins, which is a little bit more of a fee. So hopefully we get those registrations in early. Like Manny says, we have 70 vendors right now, 65 vendors right now, 70 or 80 booth spaces, I think, total. So we're filling up quick. We are starting to fill up and fill out the entire space for registrant or exhibitors. Not only that, we just got our sessions listing available. Sessions are now at about 42 to 45 sessions with a couple more coming in still. So we're going to have 3 days of sessions, full sessions, along with at least 2 post classes available that will be there for the attendees. Available for them. That registration is handled slightly separate, but we just need to make sure that those fill up also. So if you need post credits, that's going to be available at the conference also. So keep that in mind. But again, we will have sessions available in the mornings of both trade show days in the afternoon. So exclusive vendor hours where nothing is going on except for the vendor show. Lunch during that in the hall. We have a couple command vehicles coming in already. There's going to be a lot going on. And don't forget, with every full registration is the, was it Tuesday night? Wednesday night. the Wednesday night activity, and that's going to be held at the California Railroad Museum again this year. So we'll have access to the Railroad Museum. We'll get to see the great trains and exhibits in there. There's going to be some food and light music available for everybody. So it's a wonderful location. We were there in 2015 for the Western Regional. Great hosted place there. Like I said, some good food coming in for that. A lot of fun, and with full registration that is included for everybody. So hopefully we can see you there and get those registrations going. But again, we're doing everything we can on the commercial side to bring in the vendors. Now it's time to start registering attendees.
Also, we will have a list for volunteers, and there'll be discounts for being a volunteer for the conference.
8 hours.
8 hours. Okay. So please sign up. When it comes to the vehicles, we do have 2 vehicles already. Cal OES is bringing 2 vehicles. So if you have an agency that has a vehicle and you can have them in a showroom for 2 days, please contact me. We'd love to have 3 or 4 or 5 more vehicles. So that's kind of on the agenda. There's only a couple criterias, which means they have to stay for the 2 days unless there's an emergency. Anything else? Okay.
Thank you, Manny. Thank you, Jim, and thank you guys for your time and focus on that. That is no small feat. All right, next up, FCC dockets with Michael.
So sort of what may be good news for many is on June 2nd, the FCC issued a public notice extending the deadline for the 4.9 gigahertz frequencies that a lot of people might have been using for some point-to-point links. There was a requirement for more granular data, kind of like what you would do with a microwave point-to-point link, whereas previously it was like an area-wide license. In any case, now you have until July 9th, 2025 to get those licenses reapplied there. Let me see if there's anything else I'm missing. Yeah, that was basically it. And there is a link to that information that I can provide here. For some reason you didn't have that or weren't aware of what it was. I'm not sure if it's on the NAPCO website, actually. So it is? Okay. So Jim says it is on the NAPCO website if you poke around enough there under FCC coordination. Oh, okay, under news, actually. All right, well, that's great. That's basically it.
Very good. Thank you, Michael. All right, Tristan is not here today, so I'll provide an update on Executive Council. So we did transition our Executive Council rep, and for those of you that aren't aware, that's essentially our conduit from NAPCO International down to the local level. So that is our funnel for bringing concerns, questions, issues to the national level, and then it's vice versa. Information that they're looking for, news that they want to pass on, that comes back down from national down through our chapter, through our Executive Council rep. So Tristan took that over recently from Jackie. He's just starting to get involved in those meetings. He is partnering with Ron Dunn, the Southern California Executive Council rep. They'll both be at Baltimore conference. A full day on Friday prior to the start of the conference is for all of the state's EC reps. So as he gets into that position more, I'm sure he'll be providing some information from the national level. Legislative Committee, I believe Mandy was going to provide us with an update on the 911 Goes to Sacramento. Mandy? Did you want to provide an update on the 911 Goes to Sacramento experience?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Thanks. So we had a great group. About 75 people came from centers across California to come up to Sacramento for a 2-day event. We talked about a couple of different bills that we were championing on behalf of our industry or public safety in general. And so it was a really good turnout. We have a great time. We kind of get to learn a little bit about each other's organizations and network, but we also then get an opportunity to interface with our local and our state representatives, senators, assembly people, and it's a great opportunity to learn a little bit more about how legislation works, especially since a lot of our legislation is about helping us get more representation and be acknowledged more on the public safety side of it versus the clerical side of things. So two of the bills that we were talking about this go around was, one was a bill that would turn swatting calls into what we call a wobbler. So in the past, swatting calls would be charged as a misdemeanor, and this gives the district attorney the opportunity to charge that as a felony depending on any other extenuating circumstances. So then the other bill that we were championing for was a grant money that would be provided to school districts to work with third-party vendors to map out their entire campus, and also be able to provide some camera locations on campus so that for first responders, they would have access to where a certain event was happening. Something as simple as maybe a fire alarm or a medical call, all the way up to maybe an active shooter situation or some sort of threat that's on campus. So this would give us the opportunity of having a mapped out version of the school. And then if we have any camera views, we would be able to see live time what might be happening. It's also applications that teachers or staff could use in order to provide information live time. Like, maybe if there was a threat on campus, they can lock down the rooms and teachers can update, like, I'm in this room and I've got 17 students, right? And we're okay. Or the last place the suspect was seen was at this location. So that was to provide grant money for school districts to work with third-party vendors to help map that out. Both of those at the time were in appropriations because there is a financial component to both of them. But we did hear after, about a week and a half after, that they did actually make it out of appropriations. So they were going to be voted on the assembly floor sometime this month. So yeah, so next year it's usually in May, beginning to middle of May. So if you're interested, keep an eye out for it. We would always love to have more people come and help us champion the cause.
Absolutely. Can you hang up here for operations?
Oh yeah, sure.
But adding on to what Mandy was talking about participating. Thank you, Mandy and Anna, for representing NorCal APCO at 911 Goes to Sacramento this year. We do have it in our budget to offer some scholarship opportunities to those that might be interested, but your agency isn't necessarily going to send you. The chapter will pay for a few NorCal APCO members to attend the next 911 Goes to Sacramento. All right, Operations Committee?
Yeah, so just to update, we do meet at the end of this meeting. So if you'd like to hang after lunch, we do get together. And the point of our operations breakouts are just kind of talk about what's trending in your centers, what you're seeing. If there's any commonalities that we have, any struggles or any successes, we just kind of like to get together as a group. And we will have a pretty large breakout session at the conference in October. So there'll be an opportunity for a lot of center representatives to get together and kind of just talk about some of the emerging trends, either in technology, some of our staffing, and maybe even some of the struggles that we're having with either our phone equipment or our CAD systems. But we kind of just talk about like maybe things that have been working for us, or try and help develop strategies for certain challenges. So.
Thank you, Mandy. And yes, we will have a specific time and conference room set up for the operations roundtable. We've done that in previous years, and it's always been very well received. Packed room, always runs over time, which is a good sign. All right, last committee update, programs with Mike. Do you want this?
Yeah. So, Mike Ekstrand, I'm over the programs, so I help get these meetings situated. So basically, our next meeting is going to be in July 10th in Napa County, and it's on your agenda there at the bottom. There's also a calendar on the back of the agenda that talks about the upcoming meetings as well. And one of the things that we're always looking for are presentations, keynote speakers. You know, is there a topic of something that you think would benefit the chapter? Let anybody that's got the blue shirts, you can email us through the NAPCO webpage of your ideas for speakers and presentations for the next year. So Look forward to see ya. Spread the word, more the better. Just as a heads up, September 11th, Jelly Belly Factory. Who does not love Jelly Bellies? Come on out. Thanks.
All right, so that is it for committee reports. Are there any questions or comments on any of the committee presentations, content? All right, thank you. With that, we'll take a quick networking break at Manny.
Do we have any openings going into next year for the board?
Yes.
We have a lot of people here. Maybe somebody would like to be interested in joining our board.
Sure. Every year we have, depending on odd or even year, 2 to 3 openings for being a board member. It is a 2-year commitment. So if you guys are interested in that, we're always looking to have some competition and always looking for fresh faces and input and energy to help progress the chapter forward. Thanks, Manny. All right, so with that, we'll take a quick networking break. We'll return at 10:15. AdCom Engineering will provide their commercial sponsor, 10:15. Thank you.
do, 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 do. They say I'll write disposable music. I say that I fight for my right to sing what I want. They'll try to finagle me, sign here or there, but I'd rather bleed. Do, 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 do. I'm a voice you'll never hear, hide me away in your bedroom closet. Do, 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 do. Exploit our dreams, but don't forget money ain't what it seems. They say no talent there. Now you'll hear what they want you to hear. Pretty pop, finally tuned. Do you believe what they have in their sleeve?
All right. Great networking break. I love having to break that up. That's good energy. All right, so we will move forward with our commercial sponsorship today with AdCom Engineering and Susan Ronning. So Susan, thank you for being here today, and we look forward to learning more.
Okay. I don't know if this thing's working, but is it working okay? The audio? It's not. Test 1, 2. Oh. Is that better? Yes. Okay, thank you. All right, thank you all for having us today, and I'm happy to sponsor. So, AdCom Engineering, we're I'm personally out of Sandy, Oregon, which is just outside of Portland, but our team is nationwide. We're all over the place now. The company's been in and it's always been remote, so I'm amazed at what he was able to do before we actually had the internet. So, our team we're engineering consultants. Our focus is radio, communications, RF, FCC licensing, troubleshooting, anything RF related, anything microwave and radio related, and then also everything inside the dispatch center. So all the technology, all the operations, all the things that happen. So our goal is to support the agencies that are out there, because we know you have day jobs. We know that you're busy, right? And our focus is to make sure that we understand, we know all the technologies, we know all the vendors, and make sure we understand what's good, what's not good, what can be improved. But that's what we want to do, is just be your support. So I say we're kind of like your attorney, or you want to be able to share everything you want with us so that we can make sure that we support you and do the things that you need to have done. So this is our core team. We do have a lot of contractors as well, but our physical team is about a 12 to 15 person shop, and then again additional folks as needed. There's a lot of retirees that are like, yeah, we want to help out, but we don't necessarily want to work for you 40 hours a week. So we've got a lot of people. I am the owner. I took over in 1st of 2020, so welcome to the pandemic. Yay, right? And employees, so I hadn't had any of those things before. My background just personally is I started with, I was in the Navy for 4 years, so any Navy folks in here? Nope? Wow, that's amazing. Okay, so I did 4 years Navy out of high school because I was afraid to go to college. I thought I'd party and fail. So I got it out of my system. I got some GI Bill money and then went back to school. Got my degree in electrical engineering at San Diego State, and then interned with a few different companies. One of them was Motorola. So that's how I got into this business. I was looking to get into wireless and communications, and that fit the bill, and it was the coolest job ever, right? So I got to go actually meet with clients and be in the field and go to, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to do 4-wheel driving up to, like what could you have, as a better job? So that was super fun. I worked down in the San Diego office for Motorola and worked San Diego and LA systems. Got a really good understanding of what it is in the field for public safety out of that. And it gave me a chance to really understand, how agencies work and what you guys do. So one of my clients was City of Glendale. So City of Glendale had a 3-site UHF conventional system, 10 channels conventional system way back when. And the client there, Steve Ronick, I don't know, some of you guys might know him, but he was he became the wireless director at the time, right? And so when I went in to meet with him and we were supposed to sell a 6-position console system, I think, to them at the time. Anyhow, I talked to him about it. He was not, they were kind of interested. The sales guy that was with me was not great, right? He kept trying to sell the Watson furniture. And so anyhow, I went back later, talked with Steve, and I looked up on his board, on his wall, and he had a map of the city, and he had 3 sites identified, which were the existing sites, but he had 3 more sites, right? He had 6 sites. I'm like, you don't need 6 sites for this location. And he's like, oh yeah, I do, absolutely. I'm going to have a 5-site simulcast system, and I'm like, okay. So I walked through with him, and I'm like, okay, well, based on what you want, and this is way back, early 2000s, He's like, he wanted digital, he wanted all these things. I'm like, well, then that's a smart zone system. I'm like, smart zone. He was thinking it was a smart net system. I'm like, well, it's a smart zone system based on what you want. Therefore, you know. And he's like, well, so this could be like really big. I was like, yeah, it could be as big as you want it to be, right? He's like, so he picks up the phone, he calls Daryl over at Culver City. And he says, Daryl, I'm gonna have a smart zone system. Do you wanna be on my system? and Daryl says, yeah, let's do it. And so that's what started ICI, so ISIS at the time. So ICI radio system was really, Glendale built out, right, the core, the hub, they did the main trunking system, and then Pasadena and Burbank and Culver City and Pomona. Now there's 20 different agencies, I think, on that system. And the idea was that they were all waiting for LA County to do something, and LA County kept working with vendors or consultants trying to figure out what they were going to do. So these agencies really needed to do something at the time. And so they all agreed, you know what, let's build out our own systems. We'll do the coverage exactly what we need for the areas that we need it. And then we're just going to connect them all together. And we'll make an agreement that if I roam into your area, I can use your system. And if you roam into mine, you can use mine. And there you go. And so that's what started the ICI system way, way back. And so I was extremely lucky to be part of that whole thing when it happened. I was working for Motorola when it first started. Designed, staged the system, got it up, and then I staged it. And then that's when he asked me to come on board. And so I switched over. I left Motorola, went to go work for the city of Glendale, became the radio shop supervisor. 29 at the time with 5 technicians that were 50 years old, right? I'm like, you sure this is gonna work? It actually worked out fantastic. So I think Chuck Carrion's still kind of around. If anybody knows Chuck, he's an amazing guy. But he was one of my techs. So we got that system in and up and running. But I told Steve, I'm like, I'm not sticking around for 30 years. I love you, I love the system, but I'm like, I want to go do other things and see other stuff. So we got it turned up and got the JPA at the time, they got built out, and so they started putting people on. I took off and I went to go into consulting. So I went to go work for Kimball and Associates, and I left LA and I went to Memphis, Tennessee. So it was a very different culture. Right? They said I talked too fast. I had to slow down. but that again, I got a chance to learn the culture and what was going on out there. And so I worked and actually did the exact same system. I built it up. I acted as the consultant for the agency for City of Memphis and County of Shelby, helped them get that system in and running. And then I went on and moved around and did all kinds of other business. So Kimball and Associates has now become essentially mission critical partners. Also, when I was there, a bunch of us left and went to federal engineering. So I do have experience with those different companies. And with one of the federal projects brought me to Oregon. So Oregon's at the time, OWIN, Oregon State Wireless Interoperability Network, was supposed to be a statewide system that failed. So that just couldn't get, because the people, right, we couldn't get the agencies to all agree as to what was going to happen. So, but that's what brought me to Oregon. I'm like, oh, this is really cool up here. And so I stayed, right? So that's what brought me to Oregon. But anyhow, so my experience, and at that point I left and went to Tate Communications. So Tate understands utilities. That's how on. So with that history, Joe had AdCom engineering and really focused on public safety. So we still have that public safety aspect, but we've also expanded into utilities, into transportation, because essentially communications works the same. It's just how it operates, right? Who the people that use it are a little bit different, but otherwise the technology and the basics are all the same. So let me run through my slides. We are part of all kinds of different organizations. Personally, I got my PMI project management, but realized that I'm actually not a very good project manager. So I've got other folks that are. I did learn about NCOSI systems engineering. Test there. That sounds better. Okay, thank you. So, but team members that you would see often, and she's got her Nina ENP. So, it's just me. It's just me. I'm just gonna hold it. So a lot of our team members were part of International Critical Control Rooms is another organization that we've learned about that is actually where it's not me. There it is. Oh, my cell phone. I know. Okay. Better. Test. All right. Last time. So International Critical Control Rooms, if you haven't heard about it, you should. It's actually a really fantastic organization. It's really focused on dispatch communications, but not just public safety. It's also gas and oil and electric and anybody that has a space that you can't go down now, right? So that's what all that's about. So we are part of lots of different organizations because we think that it's important to be able to take advantage of what's out there, so that it's not just us making it up. There's things that are actually going on in the world. Let me just run through. Okay, just a quick. So yeah, don't worry about this one. So this is just a short cutout. We are woman-owned, minority-owned, veteran-owned. We are a DBE as well, Disadvantaged Business Enterprise. So we've got the certifications for all these different things, but our focus, again, is radio, RF, communications, operations, anything inside the center, right? Anything inside the center and anything that touches the center, CAD systems, phone systems, all of those things. So that's the area that we're in. Again, another eye chart, but this is just a list of agencies that we've worked with in the past. So we've done a lot of work in the Northwest, Oregon, Washington, and then California. And we actually are currently working with Golden Gate Transit District, supporting them on looking at their radio system and what to do with it. So that's super cool. I got a chance to go to the top of the tower, which is the neatest thing in the world. So we're working with a lot of different companies, a lot of different agencies doing all kinds of different things. One of them, MFSA, is Maritime Fire and Safety Association. They are like dispatch controllers for their ships that come in and out of the Columbia. It's very, very cool. So it's amazing. And I think that's part of, again, the best job in the world because we get to work with all these different agencies and understand what it is that they do because that's what's important to them. So how much time do I have still? 15 minutes? Okay. All right, I'm just going to run through kind of the things that we do. So our methodology is we want to use standards. Right? We want to use PMI project management. We want to use NCOSI systems engineering. We also use tools to help make sure that we all see the same thing. So one of the things that we've taken up when I came on board was to use Smartsheet. Right, Smartsheet is basically a collaboration version of Excel, just because data in matrices is important and it's useful, but it's not good if one person owns it and you have to go find that file. So those are the things that we use. Some of the things that we see, what works, what doesn't, is that there's pitfalls, there's priorities. Our focus is to make sure that any information that we share is collaborative, it's available, it's always on, you can go get it so that you don't have to wait for somebody to tell you or wait for a meeting to get the information, right? So that's what we want to make sure is that we support agencies and that meet what you need. So one of the things that we see is that no matter what happens, especially when you're running big projects or you're doing any sort of change or upgrade, is that things, there's always bad things that happen. So, and on any project, and especially on IT or technology type projects, they fail. They fail a lot, right? And you've got to look at the scope, schedule, budgets, stakeholders, and quality. So maybe modifying your expectations will help in terms of what is failure. It's based on what it is that you had in the past versus what you expect, right? And so it's really just, if you set the expectations that are realistic, then you're more likely to succeed. So this one is actually, it's very, very important, just that no matter what happens, especially if the project is, longer than 3 months, right? There's a possibility that you're gonna lose project team members, somebody's gonna retire, somebody's gonna change out. You're gonna find stuff that you didn't know, or you're gonna figure out stuff that you didn't really understand before. So scope does change, right? And no matter what, cost seems to always increase. They never seem to go down, right? Where systems break, where things break is always at the interfaces. It's not the one system or the other system. It's the thing in between that makes them touch and connect. So understanding that these are the potential risks, right? Identifying those up front and actually applying those and mitigating for those is how you reduce project risk. So things you can't control, but at least identify that potentially this might happen so that you can plan ahead. So, and of course, everything needs more staff. And we have very little people, right, across the board. So just an introduction to what is NCOSE. So I think most people, any PMI project managers certified in the room? Couple, yeah, okay. So PMI project managers is really about project management and organizing the project. But what I've learned is the technical folks that kind of come up and support the projects, you're not a PM, it's that you're actually a systems engineer. So NCOSE is all about systems engineering, and it's understanding what is the technical aspects. So the person with that domain knowledge that really understands what are all the little things that need to happen, that's that person, that technical lead is that systems engineer. And so I just want to, hey, this exists, please talk to me. I'd love to have you learn a little bit more about it. But NCOSE is something that's been used in aerospace and defense industries for 20 years. But they haven't come in, right? This is like we're trying to get it out into the field. So I am the chair of the ICT, Information Communications Technology Working Group within NCOSE. So I want to profess that in this industry that we're in, learn what it is, and so that we can all use the same words and we can understand the same things. So one of the key things about projects is once you make that decision. So this is one of the charts that comes out of NCOSE Systems Engineering Handbook. It's like, what is the cost of a project? When you kick it off, right, you haven't spent very much. But once you make that decision as to what the architecture is, what that concept design is, then you've set into place what the cost of the system is going forward. So as early on, and this is kind of that measure twice, cut once theory, right? As long as you plan it out up front, then that helps you in the future. The cost to extract defects is significant, right? So once you get further on, okay, you've made the decision as to what the concept is. So you've spent 8% of your project budget, but you've committed what the total life is going to cost at 70% at that point, right? And then once you go up to, hey, we've actually deployed, we've designed it, we've created it, we're going to deploy it and we put it into production. Well then, if you change it at that point, right, lots more costs. So a lot of big infrastructure projects like rail have failed, or they've cost a huge, huge amount of money because all the planning maybe hasn't been put together up front. So really it's about not only are we building it right, but are we building the right thing? And this is something that is near and dear to my heart. I mean, working with the vendors or as a vendor in the past, yeah, sure, it's just a radio system. But you know what? To the folks in the field, that radio system, the interface is so important to have accessories, the earbud mics, right? The speaker mics. The actual interface to that radio, it's not the supportable themselves or the infrastructure. It's about how does that work for me? And so really understanding, does it actually work in the way that you want it to? So quick thing. My mom had her guest bathroom remodeled. She wanted the shower head up high so tall people wouldn't have to crouch or lean way back, right? So yay. Yeah, it met the requirement, right? Vendor did what they were supposed to do. But did it actually meet the need? Oh, sorry. But yeah, no, it didn't. So that's really the point, right? They can do it, but did they do it actually the way that you want it to get done? So we do use Smartsheet. We do use these tools to get through projects, but that is our focus, is to make sure you meet the needs, right? The stakeholders actually get what they want. So we use Smartsheet project management. Here's just an example of our toolkit. We do spend a significant amount of time on this because we think it's important. So again, happy to share and advise if anybody's interested in using it, or if you are using it. We've got some really good experts. And then that's it. So thank you very much. But yeah, I just want to share who is AdCom, right? We are here to support you, help you. We are working all over the US, but we do have a good focus in the Northwest and in California, especially since I'm born and raised, out of LA, not northern, but southern. So we want to come back. We want to help you out. Please, I've got a card. Actually, and I've got some goodies. So phone tether. So if anybody wants to go up on a tower and not lose your phone, here you go. Okay, so I've got a few of those, and I've got some pens. So thank you very much for your time, and thanks for having us.
Thank you very much. Okay, with that, we'll invite Paul Troxel up for a Next Gen 911 update, since we have a little bit of time. And then while Paul's doing that, Shannon, if you want to work with Jim to start getting set up for the presentation at 11. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All yours, Paul. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me okay? Yes. Is this working? Good morning, I'm Paul Troxel. I'm the 911 branch manager and 988 system director. Real quick, who here is from the PSAP? Okay, we got a few. Who here has been following all of our updates on Next Gen 911? Tuned into each and every one? Okay, you're cheating. You too, Mike. That's not cheat. Yeah. So I didn't prepare any slides. I really wanted to facilitate a conversation today and really talk about what we're doing up in Sacramento to make sure your PSAP is ready to deploy Next Gen 911. And then I'll give an update on what we're doing with CPE and then answer any questions that you guys have. As long as they're easy, any tough questions, Don Jones is in the back. He'll field those. So on our NG 911 deployment, we had some challenges in the fall. So we put pause on the project, and we've been really evaluating what's been happening, what's going on, what our network design is, and we've realized we have taken what we thought was a simple network design with a lot of redundancy and failover capability, created a lot of complexity, and that complexity created weakness in the network. So we've been analyzing what everybody else has been doing nationwide, and we've finally decided what we're going to do is we're going to simplify our network design, and we're going to introduce some legacy selective router gateway components to simplify the initial onset of NG911 traffic. So who here knows what a selective router gateway is? All right, so education time. So the way we're deploying today in California, and I'm going to use our friends at Tuolumne as the example. So we went to Tuolumne and we said, first carrier we're going to do is T-Mobile. So we're going to call T-Mobile and say, okay, T-Mobile, take your traffic off the selective router, point it to our next-gen core service provider. They're going to deliver through the NG911 network. That worked. The problem is the folks that work in the dispatch center now have two line appearances for 911. They have legacy and they have next-gen. And each are different. The way you triage a call in legacy is different than the way you do in next-gen. So we have an education problem and a training problem there that leads to complexity. And then we have a troubleshooting issue because the dispatcher, they're focused on, I got a 911 call and I couldn't hear, location didn't deliver or whatever. They're not paying attention to the specific line profile. So they're calling AT&T, who's their CPE provider, and AT&T's like, well, that was a next-gen call. So we've introduced all of this complexity. So by putting in a legacy selective router gateway, what we're doing is taking an appliance and putting it right after the selective router. So T-Mobile traffic will still come into the selective router. It'll get routed. It'll hit this gateway that points to the next-gen core service. And then it gets delivered across IP to the PSAP for every carrier. What's important is the dispatcher now has one line profile. And technically, when that appliance goes live, you're cut to the next gen system. Day one, you're not testing T-Mobile on Monday, AT&T Thursday, Verizon Wednesday, and then AT&T wireline, Frontier wireline. All of that goes away. We do it in one shot. We simplify the pane of glass for the dispatcher and simplify the troubleshooting for the dispatcher. So now something goes wrong, they report it, we know it's next gen. There's no longer this hybrid blend between legacy and next gen. So we're working with our next gen service provider. We're trying to identify the selective routers where we can get these gateways installed quickly, start the migrations. That work's going on today. We're hoping that we can have all of that work kind of sorted out about October-ish, plus or minus a month. And then we can pick up and start going and deploying more PSAPs. Now, anybody who's worked with the carriers knows we can target a date, but there's a lot of legality stuff. There's a lot of negotiation, the co-location agreements, all of that. So that's why I say October-ish, we're hoping to target. But we're working hard to get that moving. Then what we anticipate is once we start that, we are going to take the 23 PSAPs who are currently live on the Next Gen network. We're going to get those appliances put in to support them, cut the rest of their traffic over so those dispatchers all have one line appearance. Then any dispatch center that's on that selective router that hasn't cut yet, we're going to cut them over to add to those 23. At the same time, we're analyzing those selective routers around the state. Where can we start to go deploy them and start to bring people on? We know the selective router, North Hollywood selective router that supports LA County. I think there's 11 selective routers that support the greater LA County. North Hollywood is very complex because it's supporting LA County, probably Ventura, maybe some other counties around. We don't want to make that the first one. But we can look in LA and find, is there a selective router that makes sense? And then start to deploy the rest of LA County, Southern California. So that's where we are. And it's really important, if you're working in a PSAP, if you're an IT person working to support a PSAP, stay engaged with our office. There's a lot happening. We're getting a lot of traction right now. We're getting some good work done. And we're hoping by August or September, we're going to be hitting the streets and starting to do our outreach to all of the PSAPs so they're prepared in October, November. When we come knocking on doors, everybody's ready. Everybody's going to be on the same page. So I'll take a quick pause. Anybody have questions? So, no. So the question was, when we introduced the selective router gateway, and correct me if I misheard this, is there redundancy built in, or are we introducing a single point of failure? The selective router today is a single point of failure. This gateway is a transitional element to get us to next gen faster. It's not our desire to be on it long term. And the reason is single point of failure. So we're using this as a tool to get everybody to the single pane of glass, one button line profile in their PSAP. Once that occurs, then we'll work with the carrier to move T-Mobile, Verizon, AT&T wireline, Frontier wireline, everybody off the selective router, aggregate that call into cloud. The PSAP experience does not change. We could do that at 3 in the morning. The dispatcher has no clue that that work's happening. That's when that single point of failure gets removed. Any other questions? So everybody's happy. Test on Friday, selective router gateway, you're going to get 100%, right? All right. Everybody tracking what we're doing with the 911 call handling equipment, the CPE? Man, Don, we're not doing a good job messaging. So in 2020, our office made a decision to issue a contract for cloud call handling only. So the on-premise 911 equipment was removed from contract. What we found is we took too much of a bite of that elephant at one time. We advanced technology way too fast for what the market is ready for. So we've had some cloud systems purchased, they're being installed, they're going live, but we now have 300 PSAPs that have equipment that's year 7 or older. And the IT folks in the room, how many IT folks? So if you have a server that's working on year 9, how does that make you feel Friday night? Yeah, it's good for another 10 years. Yeah, just as long as the AC is working, it's going to be fine. It doesn't make us feel good. These are critical public safety systems. So what we did is we went and issued an emergency amendment to the current contract. And the team is actually today negotiating the final contract. And we're going to put on-premise equipment back on contract. So for everybody who knows Intrado and Motorola, those are the two big on-prem solutions. We still have cloud that is still available today and will still be a part of our contract moving forward. We're just giving those folks the option who aren't comfortable with cloud to replace their backroom equipment, get that 300 down to 0, get everybody stabilized, prepared for next gen, and then in the future, we'll take a look at how do we advance call processing equipment to make it more modern. And I will say, Santa Barbara County Fire went live with the Carbine Cloud CPE solution 4 weeks ago-ish. Whenever you put new CPE in, you always expect there's going to be little challenges and everything. They're live. They're using it. Cloud technology works. And AT&T deployed the system there. They've been supportive. The Carbine team has been supportive. Chief Huff, who manages the PSAP down there, has been super proud of the system. So if you're interested in going to see what a true cloud solution looks like, reach out to Santa Barbara County Fire. I know it's I know of all the places you got to go visit Santa Barbara. But hey, I did it. I took it for the team. I said, I'll go. I left on Memorial Day. I'll go down there. It's fine. They have it's a brand new center. It's a new PSAP stood up to support all the region fire and medical agencies there. It's a beautiful center. And the way that the system works is really cool if you're not familiar with cloud. It's really a cool experience to go see what it looks like and understand how that technology works. So if you don't have Chief Huff's info, let Don or I know. We can do a virtual introduction and get you guys set up to go down there and tour. Any questions about CPE? I guess I should say that the team's negotiating contracts today. We're hoping, if everything works, all of the terms and conditions will be agreed upon, so we should be executing those contracts by the end of the month. If that's the case, then all of those systems will be for sale. As soon as they're executed, we'll send out a message and people can start buying those systems. No. So when you say functionality, are you the ability to? No. They're all next-gen compliant. They're all going to be able to support next-gen. The functionality that you really lose is until we are 100% next-gen, not 23 PSAPs, but every PSAP is 100% next-gen. The real functionality of next-gen 911 is we no longer need backroom switches to move calls back and forth. We can use policy-based routing. In a cloud CPE solution with next-gen, I can take a laptop. This could be our PSAP. I can take a laptop, leave here, and go to the fire station down the road. If I can get next-gen 911 connectivity, the call could be routed to me. That's the functionality. But that's not our reality until everybody is on Next Gen 911 network. Then we move to cloud CPE technology. In the Next Gen environment, we could do policy-based routing. So we know San Francisco in a normal work day, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, traffic is terrible. CHP calls go through the roof. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we can set a policy that says from 3 to 7, take 25% workload and send it to Sacramento. It'll be answered by CHP, but they'll just have a different group of people being able to do it. If there's a critical incident and CHP Golden Gate falls off the map, send these calls to CHP Sacramento, CHP Stockton, and CHP Fresno. Now all those calls could be answered. The challenge is communicating back, but remember, in a disaster, the first responder is the first victim. You're not responding to the incident. You're trying to save you and your people. So that's a paradigm that we'll have to work on changing as we look at the future. Any questions about that? I see the guy with the stick over here. Yeah. Any questions? Yes. So we're amending the current contract and we're going to extend for time, and we're also working on a new contract for long term to bridge all of these amendments. Yes. Yeah, yeah. The big one, addition of AI. Yeah. So when we built the original contract, we didn't. AI was new and it was scary. We've had a lot of agencies want it, so we want to add the feature. You don't. It's going to be an option. If you want it, you take it. But if it's in the contract, we can pay for it. If it's not in the contract, I can't pay for it. So we're going to add the AI feature into the future contract. That's probably the biggest change.
Will that be part of the initial deployment, or is that part of the residuals that you have to apply the AI to the residuals?
No, it would be a part of the original purchase. Your residuals would be things like chairs, audio loggers, yeah, stuff like that. Good question, though. All right. Any other questions? Yes.
Are there problems that come along with these calls being received and not their originating location?
So for the caller and the call taker, no. The inherent risk is there's no radio communication from the dispatcher where it's being received back to where the incident is occurring, and no CAD. My theory, Paul's theory, San Francisco has a massive earthquake and the 19 PSAPs in San Francisco go dark. We know there's an earthquake. We know people need help. Those agencies are not helping those people. They are stabilizing themselves. They are the first victim. If we send those calls into Davis, Woodland, Sacramento, a human's going to answer the call. If you're an earthquake victim, help's on the way. That's the best we could give you. If you're a heart attack victim, please hold. I'm going to get you to a fire dispatcher who's going to give you EMD over the phone and likely save your life. Now, getting an ambulance to you is a different challenge. But again, comms are disrupted. So that likely scenario, that's catastrophic. But at least you got a human to interact with. During the hurricanes, North Carolina just deployed their statewide NextGen system. During the hurricanes that went through last year, they had 17 PSAPs they did not call them outages, they were bumped off the network. Through policy-based routing, every call where a citizen had dial tone got to a PSAP. They called 911 and got answered by a dispatcher. Everybody who needed 911 could get it. That's what we need to solve. The response is different. With the bridges are washed out, we're not responding, but at least we can answer the call. All right. Any other questions? I'm hurrying. Thank you, Paul. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
So I believe Paul will be sticking around through lunch, possibly into the operations working group. He will also be our keynote speaker in September. So more to follow at the Jelly Belly Factory. So certainly more to follow. Paul, we appreciate you being here and everything you and your team are doing. With that, we'll just take a couple minutes to get Shannon set up. So Shannon Polito is with Help for the Headset. She will be providing the keynote presentation today, Elevating Wellness and Training for 911. So stay in your seats. We won't be long. We just need to load up her presentation and we'll get started.
Voice you'll never hear, hide me away in your bedroom closet. Define success monetarily. You will never see the light of humanity.
Thank you very much, Shannon, for being here. We appreciate your time.
I'll have to use my dispatcher voice. Am I on? The mic is on? Say it's green. The speaker. This. Better? Can we hear me now? All right, I'm gonna use my dispatcher voice, so I'm gonna start. It's coming. I'm just kidding. Hello. Thank you very much for having me. My name is Shannon Polito. I work for Santa Clara County Communications. I'm going to be telling you some stories, so let's pretend I didn't tell you where I work, because they're not necessarily the best stories. But and then I have my own training company for dispatcher wellness and dispatch training, Help for the Headset. So that's what I'm representing here today. I wanted to talk about wellness strategies for all of the technology implementations that we can expect and are going through now. Just to get an idea, how many dispatchers do I have in the room? Dispatch. Great. Okay. And then what else do I have? IT? Some IT? Okay. And then who else? What is this? Other groups? Vendors? Okay. Great. So my goal is I'm going to run through some basic understanding of what dispatch foundation for the job is. We're going to talk about stress and hypervigilance. And then we'll talk about adding technology to that. So I want to just be able to cover our basic level, our basic line of where we're starting, and then we're throwing in our calls, and then we're throwing in technology additions. So that's going to be where I'm going to try and focus. So we're going to start with the basic understanding of stress. We all know what stress is. We all talk about it. When you say hello to somebody, you basically say, hey, how's it going? And their response is generally, oh, I'm stressed. And people go, oh, yeah, me too. And everybody knows what that means, and we walk away, and there's no real conversation. But everybody understands what stressed means. The technical definition is state of mental or emotional strain or tension resulting from adverse or very demanding circumstances. So, life, basically. So any of the podcasts or books that are telling you that you can get rid of stress are wrong. You cannot, because who's married? Okay, adverse, demanding circumstance. Kids? Yeah, adverse, demanding circumstances. Up here, traffic, the Altamont, for those of you who have to drive it. I don't know, the heat in the summer. I live in Santa Cruz, so this is a lot. And then, I mean, the cost of living, whatever it is, your job, getting to work, whatever, that's stress. Now, can you learn to manage it well? Yes, of course, but you cannot get rid of it. That is the basic foundation of being human, I believe. There's 3 types of distress. So I'm going to cover the first and the third one in more detail, but acute stress is generally it's perceived immediate threat or immediate perceived threat, and then your body will respond to that. So that could be physical, emotional, mental, whatever it's going to be. It can be very, very different for every single person. So if all of us literally witnessed the same accident right outside on the road, we would all have very different responses. Some of us would be traumatized. Some of us would be, just another day. And then some of us would be, excited, like, oh, I got to go out and help, whatever it is. We all experience threat differently. This is also not just in dispatch, this is human response, but this is part of our foundations in terms of what we're doing as a response. So when we're new, we all think that only people who are about to die call 911 screaming. Turns out not the case. Lots of people call screaming just for no reason at all, actually. I had somebody who was screaming. I thought I was going to be the person who heard this person die on the phone, and she was just mad that her ex-husband parked in the driveway instead of the street for the kid drop-off. So I learned very quickly as a dispatcher, screaming does not mean that anybody's going to die today. So when you're new, you hear screaming, it's a threat. When you get into the job, you hear screaming and you are like, hello, 911. It's more just like, I'm just going to wait till you stop screaming and we're going to go through this phone call. So we just perceive it differently. Same with when you're taking medical calls and you're having to do CPR. The first few that you have to do, terrifying. The next few that you have to do, your steps. You're gonna be able to get through it. So threat is different, depending on how long you've been doing it, however old you are. Remember when you were 20, if anybody can remember that. And threat was just not having $10 to fill up your gas tank. Anybody remember that? I do. Very different when you're in your 40s. So episodic acute is very personality driven. You could just choose to do less. And then chronic is going to be acute stress constantly. So acute stress is fight or flight. We're all familiar with fight or flight. So this is when your brain, it is the only part of our brain that has not evolved over the years. It perceives threat and it responds, and your body's going to respond. There's never a time that your body can convince your brain, we're okay, calm down, it's fine. And your brain doesn't do that. So your brain perceives threat, whatever it's going to be, automatic response. So you dump adrenaline. So adrenaline floods into your body. That's what makes you shaky. That's what makes you breathe faster and more shallower, whatever. Have less good breath. We're going to go with that. And then your body starts to panic because you're breathing fast, and you start to go into hyperventilation, so then your body panics more. It's a great system that we have going on. And then your body also dumps cortisol. So that is the stress. Cortisol, so adrenaline runs out of your body between 20 and 60. How many times you're going to keep dumping it. Cortisol only leaves your body if you sleep a full night or you exercise vigorously. We're all doing both? Yes? No? Yeah? No. Definitely none of the first responders in the room are doing that. I will guarantee you that. So cortisol stays. Your body also dumps, your liver dumps glucose into your body because the idea is we're going to fight or run away. Dispatch sits for 10 to 12 to 14, 16, 18 hours. And we're just sitting. And I have had people, and how many days in a row are we doing that? So I had somebody in a class, 44 days. She worked 12-hour shifts for 44 days in a row. Her body and brain were toast by the end of that. But Glucose, when you don't run and you don't fight, gets reabsorbed back into your body as sugar. So that is why a lot of people with perpetual stress start to gain a lot of weight, because their body is literally just reabsorbing sugar over and over again. No donut was getting to be eaten in that process. So you're just gaining weight for no reason, no enjoyment. All of that happens automatically. That's going to be that fight or flight response. This is, for dispatch, this is every time you do take a CPR call, it's still your brain perceives it as threat. Your bored's the wrong word. It's normal for you, but your brain perceives it as threat. So CPR calls, code 3 fill calls for the police, when they don't answer their status check, if they ever yell shots fired, when you get a fight that's in progress, your first responder just crashed into something else. Somebody crashed into them. Somebody attacked them. The fire station that someone's trying to get into frantically. All of these different things, that is the fight or flight response over and over and over and over again for, again, 10 to 18 hours, depending on how long the shifts are. Again, episodic, acute. Could you just do less? Yes, you could. This is the person who's frantic all the time, sweaty, late. They're just disheveled, like they're always doing too much. They could choose to do less. Chronic is where we sit. First responders sit all the time. So chronic stress is acute stress all the time. Fight or flight every day, all the time, with no perceptible end, which starts to mess with your brain also. If your brain can't ever say, okay, well, I can get through this if I know it's going to end at some point, it just starts to give up. So in chronic stress, you're dealing with that. You're dealing with high levels of cortisol constantly being in your body. It starts to wear you down physically and mentally. Your brain starts to shut down systems. So if you are in chronic fight or flight, so in fight or flight, your brain says, why am I trying to fight a cold if I'm fighting for my life? Because your brain will perceive that this is a life or death situation when you're sitting in a chair and someone's just screaming in your ear. Brain says, I'm going to start turning off everything I don't need. So it turns off your immune system. So first responders have a higher prevalence of autoimmune diseases because it's not like they can take a few days off and their body goes back into turning on their immune system and is like, oh, phew, let's fight stuff now. No, instead, the immune system's literally like, I don't know what you want me to do, because it hasn't worked in so long that it doesn't work now chronically. So it becomes a huge problem. Females, the cortisol starts to erode and eat away at the insides of our bones. So first responder females start to have bone breaks and fractures in their 40s and 50s rather than their 60s, 70s, 80s. And then same with the reproductive system. So your brain says, why am I trying to make a baby if I'm trying to fight for my life? So first responder females also have an extremely high rate of fertility issues. So it technically, when the doctors say just be less stressed, yeah, it's really crappy of them to say it, but technically they are correct. They just aren't being helpful. But this is where most of us are just in our job, is that chronic long-term fight or flight. So there's anxiety, depression, heart disease, weight gain, sleep issues are huge, concentration issues are huge. So that's our base stress, base stress foundation. Then we throw this in. Anybody ever read Emotional Survival for Law Enforcement? Dr. Gilmartin? Yeah, great book. This is where it comes from. This is the hypervigilance cycle. So this is for any first responder. So people who do jobs where nobody dies if they make a mistake are in that normal range of risk. So a barista, let's say. Now, do people get mad? Yes. And then they call us. But no one's going to die. They really do, by the way. They're just here. The first responder hypervigilance cycle hops. So up here, when we are at work, we feel like we're a part of something, we feel competent, we feel alive and energetic, even though we are exhausted from our 12-hour, 18-hour shifts. And damn if we're not funny. Never for the family around Thanksgiving table funny, but funny amongst ourselves, where we crack ourselves up. It's a little dark, but we get through it. Up here, we are always anticipating what might happen. So is today the day that we get an active shooter call? My county's had 2, so there's not really a time now anymore that you can say this doesn't happen here. It happens everywhere now. Officer-involved shootings, Those happen frequently now. I was gonna say we got Stockton up here. I was gonna say up here, yeah. So didn't mean to call you guys out specifically. I'm just saying that it happens more often than it used to. Again, so are you going to take the call of the baby not breathing today? Are you going to take the call of the parent finding their kid who committed suicide? Is it going to be the fire? Yesterday, Los Altos Hills decided to catch on fire, and our whole control room blew up, essentially. So are you going to, and a couple of people walked in to the room, and was like, nope, and then turned around because they had a meeting at least at the first hour. But the energy and the noise and it was just chaos in the room. Is today that day? Is today the day I'm gonna get fill in the blank? Now, we do not go into work thinking that. We go into work thinking, oh, I like her, I don't like him. What are we having for lunch? Like, that's what we come in thinking. Nobody's thinking like, oh, I don't know, is today gonna be the day that changes my life forever? No, it's just our job. So we are up here always, just constantly waiting for what's coming. That is unsustainable, to be constantly hypervigilant. So when we get home, we crash. So we hit hypovigilance, which is essentially the freeze response, where we are exhausted. We don't want to talk to nobody. If anybody's ever tried to talk to a dispatcher when they're off duty, good luck with that one. 3 things: they're going to want you to hurry up and get to the point. They're already going to be thinking about how they're going to fix whatever problem you're presenting to them. And also, they just wish you'd stop talking. So, sorry, but it's true. And don't call them and ask them a question. They won't answer. We don't want to talk to people. We don't want to engage with anybody, because this was us completely ready to go, engaged. We can't sustain that at home. So we don't want to talk to our family. We don't want to go do the social thing. And we don't care what we have for dinner. Just throwing that out there. You're good. We start to be very apathetic. So we hit decision fatigue. So now you have people who literally can be filled with rage when you ask us to make a very basic decision, because we have made all of the decisions that are actually life-altering in some cases all day long. So when we come home and we get asked, well, what are we doing this weekend? We freeze. And a lot of times it literally is, I don't know. It's a very frustrated, angry, outburst. And to that other person, to be fair, it's completely irrational, because it doesn't make any sense why we'd be mad about a choice to make. So this is where we hit. This is where we feel like we are incompetent spouses, incompetent friends, parents, sisters, brothers, cousins, aunts, uncles, everything. We feel incompetent here. And when you feel that way and you don't want to spend time with your family, guilt pops in, and then with guilt, always shame. So we're going to go back up here. We're going to go back to work, because that's where we feel competent, and that's where we feel okay, and that's where we feel safe. Even though it is chaos, that's where we feel safe, but safer than down here at home when our body and brain crashes. Now, everybody thinks I'm just lazy, and so I'm just tired, so being lazy because I can't do anything, or I'm just overwhelmed, so people just need to leave me alone. You're actually just having a biochemical response to this. So it is the crash. I give you guys all of that because the stress cycles plus hypervigilance is just the foundation of our jobs, mentally and physically. That is never including what kinds of calls we are taking. That's not including any kind of traumatic or critical incident that we are a part of. This is our foundation. Then you come, sorry, I covered those already. Then you come in and say, guess what? We've got something new for you to learn. We are at critical mass in terms of capacity. And then we are presented with new things, which everybody, whenever they present new things as management or leadership, you could have the best leadership, and they'll come in and be like, you guys are amazing. Thank you for what you do. Here's some new stuff. You're resilient and adaptable, so we know you'll be able to handle this. Okay. I mean, we are resilient and we are adaptable, and we keep proving that, but we are also humans who are beyond capacity. Is anybody fully staffed in here? Yeah. Yeah, so now you've thrown on staffing, understaffing, and mandatory overtime, I'm assuming?
No, their union contract doesn't
Oh,
allow
all right. Where do you work? I was. I know, that's every presentation. I'm like, we're hiring everybody. So then we start throwing in, sorry if it was formatted, I think it just squished it, sorry. So some of the biggest challenges, so I'm gonna mention the challenges first, then we're gonna work towards solutions. So biggest challenges, so lack of dispatcher involvement in decision making. So technology or IT implementation is often chosen by the people in charge and those who will be doing the implementation of that, which they should be. However, this results in things that are inefficient, unintuitive, or create more work because no dispatcher was a part of this process. I'm gonna stop myself from going on down little rabbit holes because I will address it. But that affects your control room significantly, and I'll talk about that. Increased cognitive load. So all of a sudden we are doing all of these things, and most of us are doing them well. Let's be honest, there's a few who are just kind of there, but whatever, that's in every job. Most of us are doing these well. Then we keep throwing in new things to learn. Anybody, you don't have to raise your hand, but if you're over 40, have you noticed that it's harder to learn and keep new things locked away in your brain? Yeah. Yeah, that's a good chunk of your workforce. Yes, our workforces are shifting to our younger people, for sure, but you still have a good chunk of people in their 30s and 40s that are not going to be able to learn the same way as your people who are in their 20s. That's just biological fact. We have 3 communities in ours. We're consolidated, so fire was the last thing I learned, and that is by far my weakest area for sure. And we just took over Cal OES Region 2, and we just took on a whole new South District for Santa Clara County for fire. And so we are learning all the things. And so I'm going into my weakest community with the most amount to learn with the most to lose if we do it wrong, kind of a thing. If we do something wrong, somebody's house might burn. Or an entire city because nobody caught the right resource on time, whatever it is. Big stakes here, right? Not that normal range of risk, like somebody else's job. So when we're multitasking, we get overwhelmed very easily, not because we can't do it, but because now we've added 4 more things to the 12 we were doing. So it's not, we're like, oh, I don't keep adding new things. No, we're already doing a dozen things, and then you add more. Inadequate training or rollout. In the last 5 years, Santa Clara County we've adapted, everybody EMD familiar? ProQA for medical. So we now do it for fire, so we have EFD, and we also do it for police. So we had to roll out the software for police protocols as well. We also got a new CAD a year and a half ago. And that's been significant, and we've added hotel security, hospital security as a whole new, very different, whole new thing. And we got 10 hours of training on each of those things. And 10 hours is not enough, just so you know. We did get 40 hours of CAD training, and they were like, yeah, that's good for 3 communities. It wasn't, just so you know. So we get rushed or minimal training, lack of hands-on practice beforehand, which is a limitation. For anybody who's creating CADs or has CAD integration, if you can't practice in something that will create problems in your training protocols, then that's a problem because on the floor, you will have only problems, essentially. So learning critical features during real emergencies, that acute stress we were feeling has now maxed because we are trying to create a CPR call and the new geolocation's not working, or the new way we're supposed to format it that we couldn't practice before isn't working. So now we can't actually do the one thing that we could do before. And so now we feel like we can't even do our job. So now we're running into moral injury on top of everything else that we're throwing into the mix. So implementation timelines that ignore 24/7 schedules. So when they decide to do CAD update at 4 in the afternoon because everybody else is going home, but we have hit commute traffic and our max level of med calls, our max level of police calls, People are getting home, somebody broke into the house, all the things. Let's do that now. So that is complete lack of awareness or acknowledgement of the shift schedule. Being able to transition to manage insured coverage and minimize disruption. Integration issues with the existing systems. We implemented a new med protocol that we were supposed to be able to track all of our ambulances and move them to their post move ups without any problems. It was going to be magical and amazing. What was it? Live Mum is what it was. It didn't work the way we wanted it to, so we had to go back. They had to go back to an old software. Guess that software does not integrate into our new CAD. So all of our medics have a completely different tracking software in their cars than we do for them up in the control room, and we've gone backwards in how we manage them instead of forward. But this new technology was supposed to solve all of the problems of managing our ambulances. Then we have, of course, resistance to change from staff. I'm sure none of you guys have those. We have people who outright refuse to learn the new CAD. They just sit there and yell about it and complain about it, which then creates problems for everybody in the pod with them because they won't learn it. They could, but they won't. And then change fatigue is extremely real. We are tired because new things keep happening over and over and over again. So the change fatigue, if it's not acknowledged, is extremely real. So if the tools are seen as making the job harder or threatening job security, of course, not that any of us are overstaffed at any point so that we might lose people or whatever, but if it's not going to if it's making the job harder, we're going to find ways to not actually use it and probably start to popsicle stick and duct tape a new way of handling it because it's not working. Poor evaluation of operational impact. So everything looks great on paper. Look at us. We took on all these new things. We look amazing to the Board of Supervisors. The people who are doing the job are struggling and they are failing and they are having problems. But on paper, we look great. Nobody is ever putting out a survey that says, how do you guys think we're doing with this new stuff? It's our bad attitudes when we bring stuff up as opposed to failure on implementation. And then funding gaps. I would say the presenter right two before me talking about the money starts to run out if it's not budgeted appropriately or all of a sudden funding's taken away. I know for the sheriff's office in our county, they had half of their funding taken away because our county happens to be a sanctuary county, so federal funds were taken from them. So they just lost it halfway through a bunch of things they were doing. So if you are now trying to implement something new, and then all of a sudden you lose the money, so you're halfway through it, so your people not only have half of the new technology, literally, like I said, well, Frankenstein is how I put it here, but duct tape and popsicle sticks, we're just gonna figure it out, but now you've made our jobs exponentially harder as opposed to easier. And then when is this gonna get fixed? Next fiscal year we'll look at it. We all know what that means. Never is the answer. It's never getting fixed. So then what are the mental and emotional impacts now of those things? So each challenge here. So the lack of dispatcher involvement. Talk about feeling like we don't matter if we're not involved in part of the selection process for the new technology. We're the ones doing the job, and you don't have a dispatcher on the committee for choosing the new CAD. You don't have a dispatcher on the committee trying to pick the new fire system that we're going to be adapting. Why not? The people who, if you ever want to increase the us versus them mentality, don't put a dispatcher on any of the actual committees that are making all the choices. Because then you will have, how long have it been since they were on the floor? They never even learned how, that is absolutely going to be the only thing that's focused on. And then it creates emotional detachment from the job itself. Okay, well, I guess if I don't matter enough to be asked, then what am I even doing? I'm just a butt in the seat. That's basically how we start to feel. Cognitive overload from overlapping issues. So constant multitasking with unclear instructions and unclear systems. It's a hope and a prayer, man. Just hit that button and go oh, it did it. Great, that worked that time. It may not work the next time. We don't know. So when we have already hit decision fatigue or we are completely burnt and at max capacity, you will run into performance issues from your dispatchers. And they're going to hit a decision fatigue to the point where they can't problem solve out of a complication from a new technology. The old technology, man, we could figure out, I mean, in our old CAD, if something went wrong, we could figure that out no problem, and we would make it work. New CAD, I don't know how to problem solve this because I don't know what the actual problem is. So then we hit freeze as opposed to getting in it and problem solving everything like we're used to doing, which also then again makes us feel incompetent in the job that we've been doing for 20 years. You walk in one day and now you just can't do it. Like that is an extremely big mental and emotional issue. And then it contributes, of course, to your chronic stress and burnout, which they were already hitting because of lack of staffing. Stress cycle, hypervigilance cycle. So then you have anxiety being triggered. Again, I can't underscore how important it is when people feel incompetent at a job that they could do really well. And just one day they can't do it now because of something new. That is a huge issue for people. Of course, the inadequate training and support. So fear of failure due to I don't feel prepared at all. So we had people who were terrified to go out on the floor with new CAD, and we were told, you'll be fine. How? How am I going to be fine? How am I solving this problem? So what if I mess up a real call? This Region 2 thing that we've taken on, our fear is truly, what if we make a mistake, something's missed, and LA burns again? Or this time it's Northern California, that like real impact, real stakes that we have in this situation. So which makes us feel more isolated and more frustrated with the people in charge. We don't want an us versus them mentality. We don't, because imagine, if you would, a world in which management and leadership worked well with their lay people and everybody worked harmoniously. I know it's pretend, but let's pretend that would be a real thing. Some agencies can do it, have done it. They function at a much higher level, and their people have so much trust in them. So then when they do bring in something new, they trust that they make the right decision because they were a part of it. Unrealistic rollout timelines. Hey, we're going to implement a new CAD. We've trained you in March. You're going to get it in April. Okay. Or fire season's coming up. We gave you a training the week before it. Or we're already in it. We'll give you a training sometime after fire. It'll be fine. Don't worry. Fires don't really pick up until later in the year. How's that working for California? Again, January, right? LA burned in January. So that was an unexpected thing. So unrealistic rollout timelines. It creates panic and fear. And if that stuff is not acknowledged, then and you're just told, well, you guys will adapt. Yeah, again, we will. But if you can't even acknowledge that that we're struggling right now, no trust. Again, you've wiped out trust. It's going to cause further stress, so more sleep disruptions, a sense of chaos. There are those of us who are chaos coordinators, I believe is what dispatchers refer to. Not this kind of chaos. It's the kind that we have some sense of control over, that we enjoy. And then poor system integration. So the mental impact of that. So if you have multiple calls being made, things not working, not being able to start fire and med in the time that you're supposed to start it, you thought you did, and then you have somebody yell over, I don't have a med call for that, and you're like, I don't know what to do, so because I hit the button. So then all of a sudden we don't feel confident not only in what we're doing, we feel like we're not confident in helping the public, and also our field responders, the people that our whole job is to send them home safely at night at the end. And I now don't feel like I might have trouble doing that. Again, after 20 years of doing it, that's a problem. And then change resistance and morale, of course. So repeated changes without consideration of the impact, just like, oh, something new, this is great, guys. And by the way, just selling it as this is great doesn't actually translate to this is great for the people who are doing it on the floor. Sending an email that just says, you guys are amazing, keep up the good work. Also, here's some new changes that's coming your way. It doesn't soften the blow. Pizza also doesn't soften the blow. Just throwing it out there for those of you in charge of dispatch. Validation softens the blow for sure. And then cookies also. I'm just throwing that out there. But It absolutely feeds into this dispatch culture, this thought process that dispatch is only toxic, that we are all angry. Some of us are always angry, but that we're always angry, that we're always aggressive, that we're always maxed out. Yes, because of a lot of these things. Most of us are trying really hard to keep positive, keep up the morale, but you can only take so many hits before you're like, okay, well, I'm done, kind of a thing. So, and then if you start noticing the people who are the most motivated in your centers and the most leader-oriented, they're giving up, huge red flags. Because now you have people who were the most motivated, and the lights, the sunshine in your control room, now they're kind of dark. This is a big problem. Now we've got some major red flags. And then, of course, it deepens that division with dispatch and leadership and dispatch and their field units. It becomes that big us versus them, and that is a huge morale impact. And then that lack of evaluation means that dispatchers feel ignored and unheard. So you can have IT go in there and say, the system is running perfectly, this is amazing, but meanwhile you have dispatchers who are giving up, that are frustrated, feeling scared and unsure of what they're doing. It's not running perfectly then. Just because the coding hasn't broken doesn't mean that your dispatchers aren't breaking, kind of a thing. And lack of feedback. Again, if we feel like nobody cares to hear how we're doing, how we feel about this new stuff. Hey, this CAD is really cool in A, B, and C, but we're really struggling with this implementation, or this functionality, and nobody seems to respond to that. They only just tell us, fill out a slip and we'll address it later, in 10 years. Then guess what? We all stopped filling out slips, speaking of the problems, and then so the people in charge were like, there's no more problems, we fixed them all. Because everybody gave up on turning in the problems, essentially. We're just like, well, we're just gonna make it work. Because that is what we do, we just make it work. But that has a huge emotional impact when you feel so invalidated. It's demoralizing is essentially what it is. So you come into a job that's already really hard, people that call and just scream at you. I mean, I've been called some really creative names. I still hear new ones, which is shocking after 16 years in the job. But they just call just to say those things to you. And then you feel demoralized by the people who are in charge of you on top of it. You're gonna start hitting that burnout, critical emotional burnout, sick call-outs, further staffing issues, people leaving, that kind of thing. And then your toxic environment is going to stay toxic because nobody's helping the people who are creating that toxicity, if that makes sense. So then the new people who come in, all bright and shiny and ready to help people, and then the old cranky ones, because they've been dealing with this, crushes it out of them. Or they say, oh, I'm so excited to do this. And then our response is generally, give it time. That is an automatic response that we have to people. We gotta stop doing that, because then they're like, well, why? Wait, why? What's gonna happen? You'll see. So we gotta shift that with the new people. But then the new people start feeling like, oh God, what am I walking into? And then they don't stay. They walk out and they go somewhere else. That lack of stability. And then underfunded long-term support. So there's no stability. So when updates are delayed, we're forced to just deal with it. It creates that complete sense of abandonment. And then just make do. You guys got this. Just make do. Because we do. So again, we could just stop making do, but that's not how we work, right? This is not a job for most of us. This is a calling. This is just like your field responders. This is something that they are called to do. We're not gonna just up and quit this job because it's too important to us as people. This is part of who we are, good or bad, it's part of who we are. So then the idea of feeling like, well, you could just do less, that's not an option for people. They're never gonna just do less because it's so much a part of who we are. Those are the problems now that everybody's questioning their life choices. And all you people, all you vendors are like, oh God, do they hate me every time I walk in the room? Yes, but we can work on that. There's cookies, not pizza, cookies, yes. Let's talk about some solutions. I don't want to just walk in with problems. We can name problems all day long. Also something dispatch is good at, is naming problems. So back to our first challenge. Involve your dispatchers in the decision making. Whether it's creating a committee, a tech advisory group, whatever it is, the people who are on the front lines, not the supervisors who were promoted a few years ago and are in their office with the door closed most of the time. I'm going to say that pretty universally. This is not even specific to just my agency. This is a pretty universal issue. Do you have anomalies? Yes. Some amazing agencies that their supervisors are a part of everything. Yeah, that's not everywhere. Trust me. Line level dispatchers. Get the people who are, I know you don't want to work with them, but the surly ones, do get them on there because they do have some feedback because they've been doing the job the longest. And get the new ones. Get the new fresh people in there too, because especially with new tech, they're actually really good with new tech and they can think of new ways to implement it and then help the dinosaurs in the room. But get a mix of people. Allow that hands-on testing as much as possible. I know that's not realistic in every scenario in every agency, but if you can have one station that's a testing station for the new CAD, the new call-taking software, the AI software that's going to come out, all of this stuff, so that people can practice on it. The idea of, fear comes from the unknown, right? So we can start to figure it out once we know what we're dealing with, but take away some of the unknown aspects, which take away some of the fear. And then incentivize or stipends for who participate. Incentivize it. I'm going to be honest with you guys. Dispatch is not great at volunteering for things, but let's refer back to why, with the stress cycles and the hypervigilance cycle and the low staffing and then everything else that we're dealing with, that's why we don't want to volunteer for more. But if you incentivize us, yeah, I'll volunteer for that. We finally got our mandatory overtime down a little bit. We got 13 new union stewards. We have a dispatcher recognition group that has 13 people on it. We have our peer support. Like, people started doing things outside of the job because they had the capacity and the space to, just because we weren't working them nearly as hard as we were before. So it makes a difference. Then you're going to start building agency trust. You can no longer have dispatchers say, well, they don't care what we think. Yeah, we do. That's why 2 of you were on. You could have volunteered for this group. Oh, yeah, but I didn't want to. Okay, well, great. Then you don't get to say anything about this. But because you have people on it, then you haven't isolated your dispatchers. And then are you always going to have some people who are mad? Yeah, always. No matter what, you're going to have angry people. But they don't all have to be angry then at that point. Only some of them. That cognitive load, managing that. So before go live, offer shift-friendly workshops, including midnights, by the way, who are very tired of your cookie and pizza leftovers from day shift. So shift-friendly trainings and workshops that show how to simplify the workflow. So it can be done. Now have somebody come in and actually tell me, I'm important enough on nights for you to come in and show me how to make this better. The mindfulness-based techniques, so now we're starting to integrate actual wellness strategies into our training. Not, hey, we're going to throw this all at you, and also, hey, let's ask peer support what you should be doing to take care of yourselves. No. Let's integrate it into our training. So anything that we can do for mindfulness-based training in terms of here's how you can lower your stress load in the moment, as opposed to, yeah, just think about it later. Have tech buddies or people who are really good at the new thing, the new software, the new implementation for peer support so that they're just around. So when you implement it, can you put people who are really, really good at it on the floor in the room with the people so that they don't feel like they have somebody to ask questions? It's going to reduce your anxiety from that overload and help the mental health and clarity, which makes people feel confident again in the job that they do. So offering trauma-informed tiered training models. So the simulation-based training with peer coaching instead of rushed PowerPoints. Hey, here's the new training. Okay, so everybody got that one? Great. Okay, the next one. Or, again, let's be honest, when you get it sent to you in your email, click, 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 click. Okay, I got 10 minutes to play on my phone now until I'm done with this training. That's how people do training. If you think that that's not how they're doing it, I'm here to tell you that's how they're doing it. So, can we do something specific with actual coaching, peer support coaching, people that people trust, Not the person that as soon as they walk into the room makes everybody in the room angry. Don't make that person the training person. That's not a good idea. Which then requires self-assessment by the people in charge, by the way. So just throwing that out there. But different modules for the high anxiety users, built-in repetition-based learning. Does that sound like a lot of work for the people in charge of training? It could be. But if you actually address the people who are the most anxious, because guess what? They're the ones who are the most vocal on your floor also. They're contributing the most to that morale deflator because they're just complaining and complaining and complaining. They're complaining because they're terrified, by the way. They're scared. So can you do separate training for them to help them feel less afraid? Yeah, you probably could figure that out. Short wellness pauses into training days. So is somebody in there telling you, okay, I know we're all like, everybody's shoulders are at their ears, you're at acute stress level, your hypervigilance is crazy, let's decompress. Let's everybody take a walk around the building. Let's everybody take a few deep breaths. Let's listen to a meditation on YouTube, whatever it is. Integrating it into the training. I know this all sounds like, well, they should just do training. This isn't how we've done it. Right. That's why we have so many problems, is because this isn't how it's been done. So it's time to do something new. If you can put wellness tools into the training, you will get a massive benefit. Not only will they learn better, because when you're in fight or flight, by the way, that's tunnel vision. Everybody been a trainer in the room before? Tunnel vision means they're not listening to anything you're saying because they can't hear you, because this is all they can do. So if you have people in your training room trying to learn something new and they're in tunnel vision, they're not taking in anything. So can you decompress them before you add more information? Yeah, let's do that. And then they might actually retain something. Even those of us over 40 might actually retain something. This also tells them that they can trust the people in charge of their training with their mental and emotional state. Because right now, what we have is people telling us, yeah, you'll be fine. You got it. Don't be scared. Just do it. And that's not telling us, oh, we feel safe by the people. We feel safe with the people who are in charge of us, because we don't. And it also boosts in morale. That's a big issue. That 24/7 coverage with flexible rollouts. Doing it all on day shift. Sorry, vendors and IT guys, take a nap and then come in on midnight and then help people. But scheduling downtime recovery after major updates. Don't stack all that big changes back to back. And then actually asking people, what are your concerns? Midnights is a completely different beast than day shift. Midnights is where the policies are written for everybody else, but that's a separate issue. But completely different call taking base, that is your field responders' activity levels are completely different, and then your day shift completely different. So actually asking each shift, what is your biggest concern? It's going to be different based on what they're doing. Anytime you can minimize sleep disruption, can you do shift training? So can you do swing shift training? Can you do midnight training? Because asking a midnighter to come in on day shift, you're not going to get, you're not going to get the level of retention, engagement, or sunshininess that you might, just like asking a day shifter to come in at 3 in the morning. That's not going to work. But we think that midnight should be able to do it with no problem. But we would never think of asking day shift to come in at midnight that night for their training. So trying to reduce all of the disruptions in everybody's physical and emotional lives already. Our sleep's already disrupted. We're already messed up. So having to come in on a day shift really messes it up. And then ensuring your cross-system integration has field-tested workflow. So the wellness strategy for that is assigning a dispatcher, so a trainer, so a CTO, to validate end-to-end call flow. The people who are training your new people, if they can't do it, it's a problem. If they can, great. Now they can not only train the new people, they can train everybody else in the room. Offer your wellness check-ins. If you have a peer support team, a CISM team, whatever you got, have them present on launch. Have them present on rollout. Have them checking in with people during not just the first day, by the way, when everybody's there for the rollout, but on the third day, a week later, a month later. Have your peer support be a part of actual new technology integration. That's huge. It helps that reduce the feelings of helplessness, which we cannot endure. That is something that actually affects, like I said, that is a moral injury for us when we feel like we can't do the job of helping people, because that's what we're supposed to be doing. And then also tells us, hey, our feedback matters. Addressing the change resistance with empathy. I get it. We are very frustrated with the people who are dug in and resistant, because they are also the loudest complainers about new things. Trying to address that with empathy. And now, will some people just keep pushing back and resist and resist and resist? Yeah, you can't change a personality, but if you can try and address it, front load addressing it ahead of time, you might actually get less resistance going into it. So holding the briefings, why it was, we have had an issue with, we just get stuff plunked down and nobody tells us, why was this the choice that was made? Why is this going to make our lives easier? Why do you think this is better for us? We just get told, here it is. Anybody ever learn something new and the why behind what you're doing helps you learn? Yeah, that same with new technology, by the way. Explain why we got here. And then acknowledge it. Acknowledge the loss and the grief of the old way of doing things. You have been doing this job for 24 years. We're about to change it on you. That's really sad. You need to experience grief for what you've lost. And that is a feeling of competency also. Let's go over the grief we're going to experience over loss of competency. Validation in that area is massive. Also, it tells them you're not weird for feeling the way you feel. You're not like a baby. You're not too sensitive. You shouldn't be not doing this job anymore. Like, that's not, it just says, hey, you're experiencing something new. With change comes loss. That's life. So it creates that emotional validation. We've got 2 more and we're good. And then evaluate your human impact. So not just does the software work. Do our people feel safe? That's a different question. Do our people feel competent and do they feel safe? So do anonymous surveys. Make them anonymous. Now, I guarantee you, you're going to know who wrote some of them. That's going to be obvious. But in general, people will not feel safe giving you feedback if it's not anonymous. And then track the performance and perceived stress levels. Whether you think it's supposed to be that stressful or not, I don't care. What is the perception of stress of your people on the floor? That is contributing to, is everybody around me more stressed? So that's going to increase my stress. Is that person who's resistant to change always next to me? That's going to increase my stress. So what's my perceived stress level? And then debrief the rollout over and over and over again until people feel confident. Again, it says what we have to say is valuable. And psychological safety, so that you walk into the building feeling safe doing a job that is inherently unsafe, physically, mentally, emotionally, you will get a far better response from your dispatchers. And then plan for the long-term support in order and prevent tech fatigue as much as possible. Sometimes you can't control it, right? It's coming. Next gen's coming. 911 video's coming. Everything's coming, and you're just gonna have to take it as it comes. But how can you try and control it, manage it, so that you can build in mental health and emotional health into the integration, and then schedule actual feedback, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, and then celebrate the wins. Like, again, not with an email that just says thumbs up, good job, guys. Actual validation, people on the floor, certificates, pins, again, whatever it is, something that says we actually see you, as opposed to a generic from the person at the front office who's never even put their feet in the control room in the last 10 years, much less to understand what's actually happening. Make that a real validation and celebration. Post it on social media. You guys who have active social medias, post it. Hey, our dispatchers have gone through a new CAD system implementation. They're doing amazing. They're here to help you and whatever. You're actually celebrating them. That rebuilds your long-term trust, cuts down on the chronic stress, which we're already dealing with, and helps, again, boost morale. And then we're not scared of technology implementation when it's done appropriately and we feel like we're going to be safe in it. And then just some add-ons. So dispatch-specific EAP providers, our county just shifted to Concern, which is culturally competent therapists in it. Massive change, huge. When you talk to somebody who, A, doesn't cry when you tell them what you went through in your day, it's not great when your therapist cries, tells you to just work less And can you get a different job? If you don't have to feel like you have to go in there and explain what you're doing and they just automatically get it, can you just sleep 8 hours? Nope. So having somebody who's culturally competent changes the mental health game. And then again, peer support. Integrate your peer support for everything. And then mental health check-ins as part of your shift brief. So make it normal. Instead of like, okay guys, I know we haven't done this in 8 years, but let's get in a circle, hand out some Kleenex, and let's talk about tech and how you feel about it. It's not going to be a positive response. If you do that every 2 months, if you do that every 6 months, okay, yeah, this is normal. This is part of our culture now. Now we feel safe engaging in it. And then can you create wellness toolkits? We have 80 dispatchers. That's a lot to create a toolkit for. But are you a smaller agency? Can you give them blue light blocking glasses, the neck supporters, the stress toys, access to a breathing app, meditation app? Can you pay for the subscription for the agency? Something like that. Those are also options. I do have everything I just talked about here in this. So I have this here for you if you would like it, and my card. If there aren't enough, just email me from my card and I can send it to you. And then this is my website with a ton of wellness resources for free on there for you to just download as much as you want. Any questions? So I got right up to it. Good? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Shannon. We appreciate your time. Okay, looks like lunch is nearly ready. Thank you, Anna. We will break for lunch. We'll meet back in about an hour for operations working group and frequency coordination. Looks like Manny has an announcement.
No, I just have a question. So this is to our commercial partners. This is who I have that has registered for our show. Just if I miss somebody, blame it on me. AdCom, Kenwood, L3 Harris, RGB, JPS, and now T-Mobile. Is there somebody I missed that is a commercial person that has registered? Okay, perfect. So I was just making sure.
All right, so we'll break for lunch. We will go into door prizes once everyone grabs some lunch and sits down. And then, as I mentioned, we've got our 2 breakout sessions at 1 o'clock. Thank you very much, everyone, for being here today. Enjoy some lunch. I believe it's Mr. Pickles. And then there's chips and there's water and soda in the 2 coolers in the corner of the room. So thank you very much.